Hello and welcome to the French Watch Collector. Today we have Jaeger LeCoultre watch. It's my first Jaeger LeCoultre on the channel. So here I can see the watch. It's a full gold case. You can see the mark just under the serial number. You see the stamp. So this is a watch I bought as auction. It was not listed as a full gold watch, so it was quite cheap. So I'm pretty pleased about the purchase. But as you can see, the watch is not working. So we need to see what's wrong with this watch. I can manage to move the hand, but the watch is not beating. So we managed to open the watch, the case back, and now I will remove the stem so we can take the movement out of the case. So the movement was a bit tight inside. There was some dirt around that made it a bit tight. So with a pair of tweezers, I managed to lift it up. Here is movement. The movement is very nice. The dial is in not too bad condition, and you can see the case there with the crystal, which is a bit scratched, so that we can replace pretty easily. But yeah, it's like I said, it's a full gold. It looks like kind of a rose gold case, and the case back as well is made of gold. Okay, so now let's focus on the hand. You can see it's a bit strange because when I'm turning the hand, the second is beating a bit. You can see when I move slowly, it's very weird. So I don't know what's caused this issue. We'll see when we disassemble the movement if we can see somewhere something wrong in the movement. So now I align the hand perfectly so we can remove it. To remove the hand, I use a Presto tool, and I just put a piece of plastic on top of it just not to scratch the dial. And now with a pair of carbon tweezer, again, to make sure that I don't scratch the dial, I will just remove the hand. The hand looks like as well, I don't know if it's copper or gold or pink gold. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the dial. Just unscrew first the dial feed screw. There is 2 screws on both sides, which are holding the dial in place. Okay, and now I'm gently lifting the dial with a screwdriver blade, and after using my tweezers to fully lift it up. Like I said, the dial is not in too bad condition. I think maybe a quick wash and I will leave it like that. You can see it's quite nice on the back, on the back as well. You can see it looks like a bit of water damage on the side. You can see some rust at the beginning of the keyless work. So yeah, there is a bit of water damage. I will be able to remove the rust. Just removing the cannon pinion with another Presto tool. There we go. Just placing the parts all together to remember to keep them in a group. After it will be easier when I reassemble the watch. Okay, so now let's focus on the other side. First, I will check if there is power. So I'm holding the click spring, but looks like there is no power in the watch. So that's not a good sign. Maybe there is something wrong with the mainspring because you remember at the beginning I tried to wind the watch. So if there is no power, it means there is something wrong probably with the mainspring inside. So we'll see later. Okay, so first this model is a model with a central second, not a sub-second. So I'm removing the second pinion very gently because you can bend it very easily. I'm removing the wheel with another Presto tool just to try to lift it up as straight as possible because I don't want to bend the wheel. So yeah, if you want to do this hobby properly, actually, you need quite a lot of tools. You can see already just to remove the hand, the wheel, the cannon pinion. I use 3 Presto tools, which are tools from Bergen, and there are 3 different types of Presto tools. They have like different ends at the end to do different things. So yeah, you need a lot of tools if you want to do a proper job. So yeah, that's quite. I got some comments to ask me which tools I'm using. So if you need any information, you can ask me in a comment, and I will be more happy than to help you and advise you on a tool that I use to do my hobby. Yeah? Okay. So now I remove the balance assembly. I'm removing now the pallet fork cock and the pallet fork. And you see when I remove the pallet fork, nothing moved. So it means there was really no power in the watch. I'm just checking the train of wheel first to see if there is any play in the wheels, if nothing is moving or nothing is looking strange. Everything looks good so far. The movement is not that dirty. I cannot see anything very obvious to be broken. So let's carry on. Now I remove the train of wheel bridge. Okay, so that's just in place with 3 screws. So I will remove the screws. Okay. Just put them aside to remember where everything will go back when we need to assemble it back. Okay. So this is my first Jaeger LeCoultre. I already worked on a Jaeger watch with an ETA movement, but never on a Jaeger LeCoultre. Yeah. So this is my first movement on the channel, which is quite a nice movement. You can see with a kind of nice high polish finish on the top. The train of wheel is looking very nice contrast between the almost like gold color of the wheel and the silver of the main plate. So I'm just checking all the wheels, seeing if I cannot see anything broken. So far, everything looks good, so just carry on. But we know that there is something wrong with this watch because it doesn't work. But I cannot see anything for now. So let's see later if we can find something strange. But so far, there is no obvious answer why the watch is not working. Okay, so now I'm removing the mainspring barrel bridge, holding in place with 2 screws. Here we go. Same again, I'm using a blade just to lift it up gently because you don't want to bend any part, and on a watch you don't want to use any force or as little as possible because yeah, it's never good to use force when you assemble or disassemble a watch. Okay, just checking. There is some parts underneath like that we will disassemble later. That's a ratchet wheel which is on the top and the mainspring barrel. So far so good. The main plate is looking quite nice. We can see a bit of rust on the winding pinion. Okay, so let's move to the dial side and let's focus on the keyless work to see if there is we can see anything wrong there. Okay, so first let's remove the screws so that we can remove the setting lever spring. Okay, perfect. So you see I'm keeping all the parts together from the keyless work. I already previously removed at the beginning the cannon pinion and a hour wheel that I put aside. I'll remove the rest of the keyless work. There we go. And you can see like there is these parts which is very different because there is no spring like on the other one, on the other normal keyless work, if you want, on the yoke. So this is a very different design, and you can see there is a bit of rust. So let's see if we can clean that in the machine and put it in a special rust remover product to remove the rust on these parts here. Okay, so the disassembly is done on the main plate. So now let's focus on the mainspring bar assembly. So let's remove the lid first. Okay, so far everything is looking okay. Nice blue. Oh, that's weird. It's very loose. So let's remove the Bar Arbor. It's looking good. And now let's remove the spring. And there you can see what's the problem. The spring is broken. So basically that's why it was no power in a watch. So when I tried to wind, there was no power, it was not beating. So that was the problem. The mainspring is broken, so there was no power reserve, if you want, for the watch. And it's even broken in a lot of pieces. It is a very nice spring, like a blue, very nice blue, like metal blue. But yeah, it's broken in a lot of pieces. I don't know. It's probably the original. It looks like it's a very old spring. So I don't know. Maybe with the age or something, he got maybe a weak point, and it got broken after being used too many times. Okay, so we found, I think, the source of the problem. So we obviously we have to put a new mainspring when we do the reassembly, and see if if the watch is working after. Okay, so now we have on this part we have the crown wheel, which is underneath the mainspring bridge. So let's disassemble it, because we want to put all the parts in a cleaning machine separately in order to have all the parts to be cleaned properly. Here we go. You can see we remove the part, but there is a piece inside. Is in two pieces. There we go. Now it came apart, even in three pieces. You see they were all stuck together, probably due to some old oil or oil grease fully dried up. So that's why we need to do a good clean. You can see all the parts there from the watch I will just disassemble. And now I'm going to put all the parts in a cleaning basket. And this basket is going to go through the washing machine. Okay, so now we just got all the parts out of the cleaning machine. And the first thing we are going to do is we are going to clean the jewels on the balance assembly. So this is a very strange design. It's not like so this acts as a shock setting to protect the balance, but this is a very different design that you can find on other watch. So there is a part which is articulated that you need to push away, and you get the jewels out. So now they're out. I will clean them first, even if I already cleaned the watch. I mean, obviously this part went into the cleaning machine, but I'm put them in a 1-dip solution just to make sure to remove any old lubrication or any old grease on these parts. Now I'm going to put them on absorbing paper and dry them fully. Very important. Before we do anything, we want to make sure. So this is like a kind of alcohol, if you want. So it dries up very, very easily. Just need a bit of air and it will dry very easily. I just finished cleaning them with a bit of Rodico. And you need to make sure that the top part is very shiny and there is no marks anymore of oil grease or anything. And now I'm going to oil them. So I'm putting a low viscosity oil on the capsule, and I'm going to reassemble them together before putting them in a watch. Here we go. Now I'm just dropping the part on top, and you have the drop of oil which is right in the middle. And so now I place it back on the balance wheel, and just closing again this strange design, this very unique design shock absorber, if you want, that will act as a shock absorber, like as a spring on top of the jewel. So if you like my video, if you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. That will help me a lot to grow and got more content for you on YouTube. So thanks for sharing and liking my video. Okay, so now we are done with the first jewel. Like I said, now we do the other side. We'll do exactly the same process on the other side. First, I need to remove. So you see that's the same on the other side, like the kind of a spring, which is held in place with a little screw. This screw is very small. Just need to remove this part. And again, we can take the jewel out. And we do exactly the same process. As always, I always do the same process when I clean these parts. Just put them into one dip, dry them, oil them, clean them first with a bit of Rodico. So you cannot see there, but they are very, very small parts. So yeah, this is very, at the beginning when you start, it's very tricky to handle these little parts, but after with experience and the right tools, it's very important to have the right tool. You will be able to handle them more easily if you want. Okay, so now it's oil and it's clean. We put the part back. And this one, I oil it with a automatic oiler. So when I put it back together, it was not oiled. And I oil it from the other side with a special tool, which is an automatic oiler. Okay, so now that's done, we can focus on reassembling the mainspring barrel assembly. You remember when we disassembled, we found that the mainspring was fully broken into pieces. So obviously you bought a new one, you will see. So it's very important to, when you buy a mainspring, to buy the right mainspring for the movement, because there is different sizes on a mainspring. You have the length, the height, the dimension, the width, if you want, of the spring, the diameter inside where you are going to put the Bar Arbor. You want to be sure you have the right model, or else you will get some problem later on with the movement of the watch. Okay, so you see come on this little metal disc, you want to have the blue side up, and now it's in place. I can push it down until it finds in the right position. And you saw before, obviously I put some grease in a mainspring barrel. And there we go there. You see, it just went into the right position. And now I can remove this ring. Again, I'm going to put some medium viscosity oil where the Bar Arbor is going to come in contact, because there's going to be some rotation there. And now I can install the Bar Arbor. So sometimes that can be a bit tricky. You need to fiddle a bit with it until it fall into the right place. There we go. Now it looks good. And the next step is we want to put the cover, and the same again. We added some special grease. There you see some 8200, sorry, at the bottom, and we need to do the same operation on the top to make sure there is no friction, or the friction is reduced between the mainspring and the mainspring barrel. Okay, so now I put the lid on top, and I use this little tool where I'm going to put the mainspring assembly, which is not fully closed yet. right in the middle. And I'm going to use a top cover to press it down, and the cover is going to click into the main body of the mainspring barrel. There we go. You see now it's aligned. I'm just pressing it down and it will click in place. And that's it. The mainspring barrel is fully assembled. Just put a bit of oil like I did on the other side, just to make sure everything is nicely lubricated. And now we have a fully functional mainspring barrel compared to what we had at the beginning with the broken mainspring. So that's good. I'm really now the moment of truth obviously will be when we reassemble the mechanism to see if it's beating again or no. So let's see when we put all the part back together if the movement want to start again or no. Okay, so now I put the mainspring aside. First, need to put a bit of oil where we are going to put the mainspring. Again, we want all the part to be nicely lubricated because we want to have a nice amplitude on the watch. Okay, now it's in place. Lubricate it again. Already lubricated this point, but yeah, it's fine. I'm lubricating there the point where where the center wheel is gonna come in contact with the main plate. And now I can place the center wheel. Perfect. Okay, so now the next step is to reassemble the train of wheel. We start by the escape, just to make sure it's aligned. You see, just fell into the jewel. The fourth wheel. Okay, align it. And this is the third wheel. Same again, go very slowly to make sure everything is in position and aligned in the jewels. Perfect. First plate is, now I put the movement aside to protect it from the dust. The first plate will be the mainspring barrel plate to reassemble. So first I'm reassembling the part which is underneath. So first there is a plate. After the crown is coming, just need to make sure I lubricate all the points which are in contact, and we're gonna have some friction metal to metal. Oh, here we go. There is this part which come and center the wheel, and we finish by adding this screw. Okay, just checking. Yeah, moving perfectly. Good. Need to put the ratchet wheel which come on the top of the mainspring barrel, and that will come in contact with the crown wheel that we just reassemble on the mainspring barrel bridge. Put a bit of oil there because we are going to put that's the screw that allow to release the stem. And you can see there is a little groove around this screw, so you need to make sure you put it before you put the mainspring barrel bridge, or else you will not be able to remove it or to put it in place if you want. Okay, so now I'm just gently aligning everything for this bridge. Everything looks good. Just pressing gently with some tools. You can see I have a new tweezer as well. That was a comment as well from somebody on one of my videos. Tell me to use brass tweezers, which are a bit better in order to prevent some scratch on the movement. So yeah, actually, yeah, that's why I bought these tweezers, which are quite nice actually to use. And it's always better if when you work on an old piece, you want to keep it as original as possible. So basically, you don't want to leave any trace in a movement. You want to clean it to restore it to this best condition, but you don't want to damage it. So that's why it's always better to use, like I said, the proper tool to do the job. So yeah, that was a nice tip from a follower. Okay, you can see there I put the plate, and everything fell in place immediately. The train of wheel was moving, so that's quite nice. Sometimes it's tricky to align all the wheels, and sometimes it go right the first time. So yeah, this time it went right the first time, so that's great. And you can see everything. So yeah, I'm holding the plate in place with this plastic stick while I'm putting all the screws to make sure nothing move. Yeah, everything good. Pretty pleased so far. Now let's focus on the dial side, where we need to reassemble the keyless work. So you see the parts. I managed to remove the rust on these parts. I put a bit of grease there because this is a part that we see a lot of friction. Put the clutch. And now I'm putting a bit of grease on the winding stem before I put it into the mechanism. Yeah, I found these movements like I said, it's the first Jaeger movement, Jaeger LeCoultre movement. So you see this movement is P478. The movement is it looks like it's a very robust movement. It's very solid. The decoration is not that great. You cannot say it's a very high finish, even if it looks quite good. But you can see they are, yeah, very nice and robust movement. The plate is very thick. There is some difference between, like you can see, like for example here there is like 4 wheels that connects to the winding pinion. In most 3 wheels, sorry. In most design you will have only 2 wheels. And there is this spring around the yoke, which is as well, you will see later, a bit different compared to other design. But there are very nice movements. It looks like very well made and very solid as well. So yeah, this is the part I'm talking about. You see, with like kind of little tail around, this is acting as a spring. So first we need to put it on the screw that we put previously on the other side under the mainspring barrel plate. There we go, now it's aligned. We just screw the part in place if you want by screwing from the other side while I'm holding it with one finger. And now I'm arming the spring around the yoke. And you see, there we go. Now it's under tension. Now it's under tension. And I'll finish to screw it fully because I just did a couple of turns to locate it, put the spring in place, and now I just screw it fully so like that is fully in place. Okay, now that everything is in place, I will put a bit of grease where we have the different contact points. Perfect. Use a bit of Rodico to clean the excess because I put a bit too much there. You always want to put the right amount and not too much. And this is the last part we're going to put on a keyless work. So put it in position, and there is 2 screws that come and hold this part. And when these screws are in place, I will arm this spring that come on this post. And when it's done, I will put a bit of grease there as well, because this is a point where you see a lot of friction when you switch, when you pull on the stem if you want. Okay, quick check. Yeah, looks like everything is working. Perfect. Good, I'm pretty pleased with it. So let's move on the other side. And yeah, this is an interesting bit. Let's see if now I put the pallet fork and later on the balance assembly, and we see if the watch is starting or not. Perfect, it's in place. Now I'm going to put the balance cock. And this is a tricky operation because you want to be careful not to put too much pressure there because you don't want to bend the pallet fork pivot point, which are very, very thin. So I always use like a pair of tweezers and a plastic stick to make sure everything is aligned. And when it is, you can see it's moving freely left and right and everything fall into place. And when it's done, just secure everything with the screws that will keep everything in place. Okay. Now let's put a bit of power in a watch because you remember we changed the mainspring. So I fully wind the watch and you can see it's clicking when I just move the pallet fork is clicking left and right. So that's a good news. It means the power is coming to the pallet fork. So now let's see when I put the balance assembly if the watch is going to start or not. Okay, so I go very gently, just drop it down in place. Just need to make sure. Oh, yes, I just started to move. Yes, perfect. You can see it moving and everything is aligned now. I just push it gently into position. Perfect. I'm pretty pleased with that because I was really not sure if I would be able to find what was wrong with the watch and manage to fix it. So actually, it was pretty simple. It was just a broken mainspring. So the watch is working. Now the next question is it accurate? Is it going to be an accurate watch, or is it something wrong that will affect, if you want, the timekeeping of the watch? So, but the first good news is that the watch is running. Okay, so now that the movement is working, we are gonna put this wheel that will drive the second pinion. So again, I put it in place, and now I'm gonna use this tool to press it down because you want to press it down as flat as possible. Press it down on the pivot. So it's in place now. Now I'm putting the center second pinion. Perfect. And I'm putting these parts that will keep, if you want, the second center pinion in place and keep a bit of friction as well on this pinion for have a nice sweeping on a second hand. Okay, put it in place. This is a bit of a tricky bit to do. It's not easy because when you screw it, like the parts want to move. So yes. Okay, it's in place. I drew a very light clean of the dial with just water, just a water and a cotton swab. So just clean the dial. There we go. So obviously this is I put a higher speed, dry it. Okay, so there I put a bit of oil before putting our wheel. And now we can put the dial back on the watch. Perfect. Go right in center. And you remember there is two screws which are holding the dial. I just put one and now I will screw the second one and the dial will be securely in place. It will not move anymore. I just give a very light polish on the hands. So we do the hour, the minute hand. and the second hand, just to make sure they look as shiny as possible and remove any light scratches or any marks on the hand. And now can move on putting the hand on the movement and on the dial if you want. Okay, so first let's start with our hand, put it in place. Use the tool or rotate tool to put them in place, put a bit of pressure on them. Perfect. And the next one will be the minute hand that I need to align. I previously put the hour hand at midnight, and I need to put the minute hand at midnight as well. That's very important if you want to have, obviously, the right time between the hour and a minute. They need to be aligned perfectly. So same process, I press it in place. Perfect. And you can see there at 9 o'clock, both hands are aligned. The hour hand is bang on night and the minute hand is perfectly at 12. And the last one is center second hand that I put in place. And you can see already without pressing the hand, it's already ticking. And the same, I just press it in place with the tool. Perfect. So now I already put the ring around and I can put the case. I clean the case obviously in a ultrasonic and I change the crystal, so it's a new crystal. Putting the winding stem. And now I can turn the watch because we need to make sure the movement is perfectly aligned. So it's a bit of a tight fit. It's pushed inside. Just finish to put the winding stem. Now we'll secure it in place by fully screwing this screw. And the last thing is to put the case back, which is press. I can press it with my hand, press it in place. And that's it. Now the watch is back in a case. We need to put a bracelet and see what's the result. What's important now is we're waiting is to see if the watch is running with a good accuracy or no. But as you can see, the watch is beating, so that's good news compared to the beginning. Okay, so now the watch is done, so we can put it on a time grapher and I will show you the final result. Okay, so now the watch on a time grapher, you can see the result. The amplitude is quite good, around 280 degrees. And the rate as well is just over 0 at +5, +4. So it means it's gaining a bit every day. It's better that than losing. So I'm pretty happy with the result because remember at the beginning this watch was not working, so I was not sure if I would be able to fix it. So pretty pleased with that. This is the final result. So you can see the watch is changed the crystal, looking very, very good. And the case, I did not do any polishing. So I keep the original state of the case. It's looking good with the full gold case. And here you can see the product on my wrist, which is looking very good. So I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you like it as much as I did when I make it. And I see you next time. Bye bye.